What should happen when someone says something racist, or you think might have sounded racist? Should they be immediately written off and canceled out, or do we work to better understand the person and perhaps help them understand why it was offensive? On this episode of The Uncomfortable Truth, we're going to explore just that. This is Loki Mulholland, and it's time to get uncomfortable. Today we have with us again LaVon Brown. And LaVon, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm slowly recovering, but I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted people to understand that as well. Was you had a stroke?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So since then, I've been working on getting better. I go to therapy 3 times a week. I go to the acupuncture. I go to all kinds of doctors, but mainly what I do is I work on it. So I'm back to my Italian. We're doing this. So
if there's a little slur in your speech, it's not because you're drinking or something. It's just the.
No, I got quit doing that a long time ago.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Kobe Bryant, right?
Right.
The tragic, crash, his death, the 9 people.
Right.
And there's the reporter who was saying the Lakers, but she kind of mixed up her words. Her story is that she mixed up the words and said, was saying Knicks, combined it with Lakers, and it came out sounding
like
like the N-word.
Right.
To many people.
Well,
personally, I've listened to it and I'm not hearing it, and I'm looking for it.
Well, there was somebody on Facebook. There was a guy in Italy. I don't know if I said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. And he talked about Facebook revolutionaries.
Yeah.
So there are people that I would expect to be racist in their speech, and but I looked for what this woman said on CNBC. I think it was she was on.
Whatever it was, yeah.
I didn't hear. First of all, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear. I mean, I listened to what the person had sent me, and I looked for it on. I looked for it all over, so I haven't seen the thing. And the woman said out an announcement that said, "Look, I said the Knicks, I said the Lakers, and I confused the two. In other words, I combined them."
Right. It came out Knickers.
My thing is, nobody has heard her say anything other than that.
Right.
So, I don't know why everybody is jumping down this woman's throat as opposed to asking her what she said. And looking at her history, looking at what she does as an announcer, and saying, is she prone to say this? What's her politics? Right. How does she live? We don't know any of that, and we've decided that she said, excuse me, she said nigger.
Right.
I didn't hear that.
Right.
And even if I'd heard that, I'd ask her, like, where is she from? Why would she say that? I didn't hear it. I didn't hear her say it. And she didn't strike me. You can't tell by just looking at somebody as someone who would use that word. And by the way, let's assume that she said that. She said the N-word.
Right.
We as Black people spread that word all over the place. Now it's not allowed at my house. I don't allow my daughter to use it. But the problem is that it's in the music, it's in our music, it's in our speech, it's everywhere. Now other cultures will use words. The Irish will use make, the Italians will use they, whatever they use with each other, but they do not sing about it. They do not write poetry about it. Black people do. So let's assume that she said that. I'll lay you 10 to 1 that there's some Black people somewhere who says the same thing about Kobe, about anybody. So give the woman a break. Everybody who uses that word is not a racist, Black or white. So I don't think the woman deserves all this getting fired and all this stuff. Let's figure out what she said.
Sure.
And well, anyway, that's my take on it.
An Ordinary Hero was my first award-winning documentary. It's about the life of my mother, Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, and her participation in the civil rights movement. For most of us, our mothers are heroes because they're mothers, and mom is just mom. But when your mother's a civil rights icon, and yet you never really knew it, things change. Go check out An Ordinary Hero and find out how choosing to do what was right instead of what was easy helped change the world. You can find it on Amazon Prime, or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection. In the film, we talk about riots in Ferguson, and that was just kind of the final straw,
Right.
the tipping point, if you will.
Right.
With the response that's coming out from this, and this isn't the first reporter this has been an issue with. There's been other reporters even in New York and stuff. I think upstate New York had one, and these different things. These different things. So is this just a pent up frustration that people are just sick and tired of being sick and tired? To borrow from Fannie Lou Hamer.
I think that's part of it. I think it's just when we've gotten to a point, and I blame the White House for a lot of this, because and the history of racism in this country, we have
Sure.
just pushed people so far that they're looking for anything that sounds like, looks like, feels like it might be racist.
Right.
Anything, because people are tired. I understand it. But I'm saying that we need to get beyond that, because everybody doesn't do that.
Right, but let me ask this. I mean, but you got to draw the line somewhere. So at some point, it's just like, hey, look, you got to stand for something. You're going to fall for anything, and so it's at a point now where we're not cutting anyone any slack anymore.
No.
If you're going to say it, we're going to call you out on it.
Right. But I don't know how. Does the same person have that to say about a lot of the announcers that work for Donald Trump, or Mitch McConnell, or he has never said Mitch McConnell has never used the N-word,
right,
to our knowledge. But I think he's one of the most racist people I've ever met.
Right, but you expect that out of him, though.
But so what? But what I'm saying is, why is it that I guess I understand what happens when Black people have been pushed into a corner and all that, and we have to be the good guy, right? We have to be the good guy. It doesn't mean that you have to jump down everybody's throat because you're tired.
Right.
What happens to us being together or talking to people? We can't do that if as soon as this woman says whatever, you jump down her throat. Maybe you ask her, well, why did you do that? Or there's a better word, or don't use that again. There are examples of that. But I understand that people are frustrated, people are angry, people are just, more than that, people are just learning what all has happened to Black people in this country.
Sure. Well, and then let me throw this at you as well. Then is the common response refrain anytime someone says something that is even veiled, let alone a possible slip of tongue, is well, that's not what I meant, or you're reading too much into it. Well, those sort of ways of kind of getting out of it. It's like, no, I'm going to say some racist stuff. It's just all coded language. So,
no, I'm not. I don't take it that far. In other words, if a person uses racist language and you call them on it, and they immediately either start talking about somebody else said it, or looking for ways out of it, I don't buy that. But if a person admits that, look, I shouldn't have said that, or people around me say that all the time, I am sorry, I am whatever, but you give them a chance to clean it up. But if they are now saying, well, I'm just saying that because that's the way everybody talks, well, that's something else. They
Right.
mean it.
My work has taken me to a lot of places, and I've been fortunate to meet some incredible people. But when I came to Selma and met Ann Blackman Bland, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. Joanne was 11 years old when she was attacked on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday in 1965. She wasn't old enough to vote, but understood its importance enough to be there. After Selma is an in-depth look at how our right to vote has eroded since the signing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The fight for the right to vote continues. Get informed. You can find After Selma on Amazon Prime or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection. Let me throw this out at you then. If you say that you're against racism and someone does something racist, says something racist, unintentional, right? And you don't give them that space to learn and grow and to overcome that, right? Then, to apologize,
right?
Then are you really against racism? Because otherwise, all you're doing is actually setting up a barrier. That person probably is going to go, you see, they don't care anyways. And other people who look at it and who are saying, well, black people just complain too much, are going, yeah, you see, that's all they're doing. They complain. They don't really care about racism or not. They just want to complain about it. They don't want to move beyond it.
Right.
They want to live in it.
But you have to let the person, you give the person, look, it's a judgment call, but you have to give the person a chance to apologize for it, to explain it, to do something with it, rather than, blaming somebody else for saying it or, you have to do that. Because if you don't do that, you're never going to have the conversation. But if a person says to me, I just want to complain, or I just, I'm through talking to that person. But the next person may say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that the way it came out. Whatever. Then give the person a chance.
Right. Let them prove it.
You got to do that. Yeah.
Now, the truth's going to come out in the wash anyway. So, I mean, if they are if they're not really, they're just saying I'm sorry just because they want to, move beyond it because they don't really care anyways. They're going to do it again. You're going to see it again.
Of course,
the pattern's going to pop up. Right.
Of course you will. So you gotta, I don't know. You give the person a chance to talk about how they live and what's talked about in their environment.
Right.
And how it make you feel. Now, you might not get this far on the first conversation, but how it makes you feel when they use that language. Right. If a white person says, oh, that's my nigga, is that racist? Or we don't know. Because he may mean that.
Yeah, but he might be, like what?
He may be talking about a white. He might be talking about a white guy. That's my nigga.
Right.
So you can't. I mean, I understand that people are angry. I understand a whole bunch of stuff. But if we don't stop this somehow, I don't know how, but if you don't give the person a chance to say what's on their mind, but if they come out with something racist and you accept it as racist and that's what it is, then you tell them that.
Right.
And they may say, I don't care. They may say, I didn't mean it that way. Well, how did you mean it? Either way, you're having a dialogue. But if you never have that dialogue, or if you see the person walking around with a Nazi flag or whatever, well, I think you got to put a good idea what you're dealing with. And so I'm not saying have a conversation with that person. I'm not saying that.
In my other life, I'm a filmmaker, and one of my more fascinating films I created is the award-winning film titled Black, White, and Us. It's about viewing racism through the lens of transracial adoptions in Utah. Utah? Yeah, Utah. It just so happens to be the transracial adoption capital of the world. So what happens when white families who didn't believe racism existed anymore adopts a black child? Find it on Amazon Prime or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection.
I was sitting at lunch one day, and a guy who grew up in Florida, white guy, he grew up in Florida, and in Florida, they have a nigger town. They had it, right?
Right, yeah,
so
sure.
so he slipped out and said something about nigger town.
Right.
And he expected me to jump all over him. I didn't do that. I said, do you use that all the time? He apologized. We became good friends.
Well, that was just part of his language, though, because that's what he grew up with.
That was part. Thank you very much.
So my mom, for example, didn't know that the N-word was a bad word until she was 13. She said it was as common as dirt.
Of course.
I mean, if everyone around her is using that language, then what else would you know? Now,
you don't
in this
know.
day and age, in this day and age, we would like to assume that everyone knows and understands the context and so forth, and and how they're using it and these sort of things. But
no,
I mean,
that's
right.
not true.
But if it's if you're, I mean, the biggest purveyors of rap music is white kids.
Right.
And if they're hearing that all the time in the music, I'm not saying, that, good or bad or whatever, and obviously in popular culture, and they're, that they want to emulate that, and this is the language that they feel is okay because it's in the songs, and they, I've heard other black people use it, but they don't understand the context and so forth because, they're just, stupid kids, then, that's just that.
Right. That's why my daughter or anybody in my house does not use the word. So, like there are areas, like you live in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are areas in Utah that there are no black people.
Oh yeah, plenty of them.
Plenty of them. But so there's a way that they talk to each other.
Right.
Some of them are racist, some of them are not. But they listen to this music.
Right.
Right? So to them, it's just fine. So until you tell them it's not, they don't know any better. They know, they suspect that they don't want you saying that, but they don't know. They suspect it.
Right.
And that's to separate it from the guy who does it on purpose.
Right. Well, then you get into the situation where it's like, okay, well, I don't know, then they can get around, African Americans and go, I don't know these people. I'm going to be on my, be cautious. But then you have someone that you're friends with them, and then the word just flies out because you're just emulating language that you've heard.
Right.
And again, but now, I mean, so gosh, I mean, I don't know, LaVon. I mean, it's like if you already knew, if you were worried enough to use it with people you didn't know,
right,
then come on now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, part of it is this. Again, we come back to this idea that it's you don't know what you don't know. But I mean, in this day and age, how do you not know? I mean, now again, using it accidentally, like or in this woman's case, how she used it, if she even did.
You see, what we're doing is people have gotten so angry at all the things that, like I said, they're discovering history.
Mm-hmm.
They're discovering the racism historically that we've been built on.
Right.
Whether it's an immigrant or an Indian or whoever, we're discovering it. So a lot of people are mad.
Sure.
A lot of people are mad because in every discussion, we leave out class. We can't do that, but we do. So I understand that people are mad, but when you're rooting for a black guy who's a multimillionaire or whatever, because they're gonna let you can't earn but so much. We have to understand that person that has all this money grew up the same way we did, so we root for them. We root for them because they're black.
Right.
Well, that isn't necessarily your friend.
Right.
Right. The white guy is not necessarily your enemy. He just he may not want to be around you, but
Right.
he'll defend you.
Right.
So how do we get to that guy? If everything he says, we have something to say about,
Mm-hmm.
Something negative. Well, he's not going to say it. He's not going to talk to you. Or he's going to be so belligerent about it that you don't want to talk to him. So we
Right.
end up right where we are now. A lot of mad people. And let's face it, a lot of people who are white fought for black people. So we get mad that they didn't do enough. We get mad. I don't care whether they did enough or not. They did enough to endanger their lives. That's enough. They did enough. They came out of their whiteness to be an ally in the battle. So every white person can't be what you say he is. Understand that. Now maybe they do, but don't come on Facebook and start talking about all these white people because it's not true. It's not.
Right.
It's just not true.
I mean, just you don't want white people going on and generalizing about black people.
Of course not. You can't do that.
Want a great way to help a worthy organization and educate children about the civil rights movement? Visit our foundation, the Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation, at the JTMFoundation.org. That's the JTMFoundation.org. THEFoundation.org. We are a 501c3 established to help end racism through education. A $5 monthly recurring donation will provide curriculum for 30 students. As my mother used to say, I can't do everything, but I can do something, because doing nothing is not an option. If you have wanted to help in this cause, but didn't know how, now you can. The Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation at the JTMFoundation.org. So when I speak at schools, sometimes, in high schools in particular, sometimes the teachers, I'm like, hey, what are the issues? What do you want to talk about? And here in Utah, every single time it's been, well, can you talk about the N-word? I'm like, okay. And so I ask, I'm like, hey, I said, I want to talk about the N-word a little bit, right? That's with these students. And, instantly, the eyes start darting back and forth. I said, no, I know you guys never use it here, of course.
Right.
I said, well, why do you use it? And the answer typically is, well, because it's cool.
Right.
That's like the number one answer I always get. It's cool. I'm like, oh, it's cool. Okay. And I said, I actually asked an African-American gentleman once, what he thought about the N-word. This is an older gentleman. And he said to me, it means lynchings.
Right.
Because that's what they did to N-words.
That's right.
They lynched them.
That's right.
So the next time you think you want to use it, just remember what it really means.
Right.
And put that in some perspective. And so now they've got some knowledge to go with this word they've heard, but they've never had context or anything before, except for, they've heard other kids use it. And of course, a bunch of white kids using it with each other. Well, and of course, if the one black kid in the school says nothing about it, well, then clearly he was okay with it.
Right.
Not necessarily. He just didn't want to get beaten up.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But now they've got context. And so, like you said before, it's when something happens, if we're willing to engage people in a conversation, try to understand them a little bit, try to give an opportunity to teach, we're going to get a lot further than just trying to cancel people out. Because if you try to cancel people out, the message you're going to send to other people is they don't care. All they want to do is, get a pound of flesh. And that people are just going to, double down on their stereotypes, on their unconscious bias and so forth. Hey, LaVon, I really appreciate the opportunity, taking the time, on this podcast, The Uncomfortable Truth, and just continuing this conversation. So,
all right.
Until next time.
All right. You take care of yourself.
Thank you again for listening. Make sure you head to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Loki Mulholland. Show a little love if you can, and get access to even more content. Until next time, don't be afraid to get uncomfortable.